Hello, hello, hello. My name is Abigail T. Sparks, and I am the author of Reaching God, a 90-day guide to seeking God's presence, and the founder of Reach Me. Today, I will be giving you 3 quick steps to enhance your worship experience because we all want to have better experiences in the presence of God. And I'll be focusing on the aspect of worship that is prayer. So, step number 1, start with thanksgiving and adoration. We all know the Psalm 100, verse 4 that says, "Enter his gates with thanksgiving and into his courts with praise." But the Passion Translation says, "You can pass through his gates with the password of praise. Come right into his presence with thanksgiving. Come bring your thank offering to him and affectionately bless his beautiful name." So we hear right there in the scripture that praise is like a password into the presence of God. When you go to someone's house, you don't walk right past them and go all about the place. No. Meet them at the door, you say, "Hi, how are you doing?" And if you really have manners, you're going to say, "Thank you for inviting me." Remember, when we're going into God's presence, it's an invitation to join him. So we're saying thank you. Most times when we're going into prayer, we go with our grocery list and our morning birth and we start reeling off everything we want God to do for us. Stop this. Start with thanksgiving. Say, "Lord, thank you for waking me up this morning. Thank you for your consistency. Thank you for your faithfulness." What this does is not boost God's ego, but instead it reminds you of how good God is. It reminds you of who it is that you're praying to and who it is that you're making this request to and his ability. Step number 2, be specific. Be specific. You have a specific need, therefore you must make a specific request. Vague prayers get vague responses. There's no need for beating around the bush in prayer. You're able to go in and be strategic. Some of the best prayers I've heard have just been about 5 minutes. So it's not that we're saying that you don't need to pray for long, but when you have a specific target, you're able to see a better response to your prayers. Matthew 20, verses 30 to 34. It's kind of long, so I'm going to give you the Sparks Notes version. Basically, there were 2 blind men who heard that Jesus was passing by. And they said, "Lord, have mercy on us." And Jesus asked them, "What can I do for you?" And their response was, "Lord, open our eyes." And then Jesus healed them. Now, Jesus knew they were blind. He could see it. However, by having them actively profess their diagnosis, they were able to access a level of faith that their vague requests withheld from them. Some of us haven't been specific in prayer because we're afraid that we won't get the response that we really want. But we have to push past that fear and believe that we're asking a good God and a good Father that is diligent and faithful concerning us and will give us that need or request that we're making. Fun fact, you can prepare for prayer. You don't have to just wing it or go off the top of your head. No. You can write down what it is that you want to pray about and find supporting scriptures, about 2 to 3 verses that will help you to be more effective in the place of prayer. So when you're going in, if you're going to pray about, let's say, your finances, find 2 to 3 scriptures that support that request. What does God say about finances? And you use that to help you be specific in your prayers. Now, step number 3 is prayer journaling. Because how can you know you've gotten the answer if you can't remember what you prayed for? How can you track what you can't remember? The thing is, there are several benefits to prayer journaling. The first benefit is that you're able to track and record what God has said to you. Psalm 119 verse 50 says, "My comfort in my affliction is this, thy promises preserve my life." But how can you be preserved by a promise that you can't remember? So write down what God says to you. This may be a prophecy, it may be a rebuke, it may be correction, whatever God has said, because we are good stewards of God's words, we're going to write them down so that we can remember them. Another benefit to prayer journaling is that you'll be able to have a timeline between your request and heaven's response. The thing is, not all of your prayers will be answered in 24 hours. There may be some prayers that take up to 3 years, 10 years. What prayer journaling does is help you to remember what you've asked God for and be able to consistently ask until it is that you've seen that response. In Daniel 9 and 10, we learned that Daniel was reading a prophecy from Jeremiah. And he was like, wait, I've not seen this response yet. So he went to God in prayer. And during those 21 days, there were responses. He had visions, he had encounters, he had angelic experiences. But what happened was those visions did not answer what he was specifically seeking God for. So Daniel, in a way, prayer journaled. By remembering what he was asking God for, he was able to be consistent and repetitive in the place of prayer until he received that specific request or response from God. And another benefit of prayer journaling is that you can actually write your prayers. Not all of your prayers will be verbal. Not every prayer will be literal words. Some of the most powerful prayers you can pray may actually be handwritten. And that's okay. It's a different way of praying that we're not used to, but it's also very effective. When I was writing Reaching God, there were some prayers that while writing, they would flow as though I were literally saying them. So there's so many benefits of prayer journaling, and if you've not done this before, I would encourage you to get that pen, get a special book for this, and next time you're going into prayer, write them down. So quick recap. Number 1 is manners matter. Start with thanksgiving. Part number 2 is be specific in prayer by preparing for it. Write down what you want to ask God for and use your supporting scriptures. And lastly, create that prayer journal. That is the end of my 3 steps to helping you enhance your prayer life. My name is Abigail Sparks, and I hope this blessed you, and thank you for listening. Bye. And seek, find, and serve.